NFL Week 16's here, and we're breaking down everything you need to know. We got the free bet of the week, injury watch, stock up, stock down, DraftKings player of the slate, and our primetime preview with a prop you do not want to miss. Let's jump in.
The time is now for the Dr. Bob Sports Podcast. I am Tanner. I am our head of analytics, and I'm in my 9th year working alongside Bob, originating our NFL and college basketball bets. And today, as always, I'm joined by our digital media specialist, Grant. End of an era for your Chiefs.
Not looking good, but hey, 7-year run. I mean, we had 5 Super Bowl trips, 3 rings, never missed a conference championship game, but it's looking like it might be over for now.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes out, looks like ACL and LCL, and I don't know if he's going to be able to get back by week 1 next year. And for the entirety of next season, the big concern is a loss of mobility because Patrick Mahomes showed just how dangerous he can be with his legs this year. A career high 422 rushing yards to give a sense for how much the offense was relying on his creation. Mahomes was averaging 2.1 expected points added per game this year. And so I'm, trying to figure out how much of the downgrade is to Gardner Minshew. Well, you got to start with 2 points just with his legs. And then I think it's about another 5 points as a passer that he is better than Minshew. So we're going to downgrade the Chiefs offense by a touchdown.
Yeah, and Minshew will be behind an offensive line coming off a game where they allowed 21 pressures, which is the most by any Chiefs opponent since 2023.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs down starting right tackle, starting right guard, starting left tackle, as well as both backup tackles, Jalen Moore and Wanya Morris. The Chiefs are starting 2 undrafted free agents at tackle last week. Plus, Rashee Rice leads the Chiefs in yards per route run this year, and he could be sidelined this week as well.
Yeah, not looking good for them, but the season's over. But let's get started here where we always start, and that is with the free bet of the week. And you are 32-18-1 on podcast sides and totals dating back to 2023 after Buffalo came back from being down 21 in New England last week.
All right, and this week we're going to take the Saints over the Jets. So the betting market has lowered the Jets power rating by about 2 points since week 14 when Tyrod Taylor was starting and when they still had tight end Mason Taylor healthy. Remember, we've talked about this in the past. Tight end Mason Taylor has been a bright spot. The rookie is 8th in success rate for the Jets this year, but he has been sidelined and he will be out again this week. So I'm looking at, the drop from Tyrod Taylor to Brady Cook and Mason Taylor to backup tight end Jeremy Ruckert is worth at least 3.5 points according to our metrics. So, I mean, I know that the market has downgraded the Jets to the worst team in the NFL, but they're even worse than that. And we were already fading them in week 14. Brady Cook came in 4.3 yards per pass play in his first start and a 9.1% interception rate without Garrett Wilson out there and now without tight end Mason Taylor. So I'm very comfortable fading the Jets passing offense here.
Yeah, and more bad news for the Jets. It doesn't look like their ground game is going to be able to save Cook as the Saints are conceding negative 0.11 EPA per rush, which is 7th in the NFL.
Yeah, so, I mean, the Jets, I know they're going to be in a dome, but they're not really going to be able to move the ball here. And I think that this could be Brady Cook's last start because it's going to be ugly out there. Meanwhile, Tyler Shuck, 22nd in success rate. He's sandwiched between Jackson Dart and Jaden Daniels. Pretty solid rookie season for Shuck. He's averaging 0.3 more yards per pass play than Spencer Rattler. And we think the Saints should be a 6.5 point favorite here.
All right, well, let's jump into our next segment here. We've got the injury watch, and let's roll through the Packers injury because last week was a bloodbath. And the headliner of that, all-pro edge rusher Micah Parsons tore his ACL, and he's out for the season.
Yeah, so I looked it up. Packers, 41% pressure rate with Parsons on the field. 34% pressure rate with Parsons off the field. We think he's worth about 2 points, but I'm also interested to see what his absence does schematically to Green Bay's defense. It has the 3rd highest standard pass rush rate in the NFL because they could rely on getting to the quarterback without blitzing with Parsons out there. That was really good against the Bears. We talked about this in the first game because Caleb ranked 25th relatively against the standard pass rush compared to the blitz, but Jeff Hafley might have to dial up more blitzes without Parsons the rest of the season. Now, the Bears, 2nd best ground game in the NFL by success rate. Packers, 9th in EPA per rush allowed. But the rush defense actually could get better without Parsons out there. That's kind of the one weakness of his game, only a 5.1% run stop rate compared to Green Bay backup edge rusher Kingsley Egbare, who has a 8.3% run stop rate.
Well, Green Bay safety Evan Williams suffered a knee injury late in the 3rd quarter last week, and he is likely sidelined here.
Yeah, Williams has 3 interceptions this season. He's worth just over a half point by our metrics. And then on the other side of the ball, the Packers lost their best offensive lineman, right tackle Zach Tom, who ranks 9th in pass blocking efficiency.
Yeah, and it initially seemed like Green Bay's offense would be without wide receiver Christian Watson, but he could suit up for this game. And look at Chicago's defense. They're conceding only a 39% success rate the last 3 weeks, and that's since getting back Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Johnson, and the Bears might be getting back starting linebacker Tremaine Edmonds on Saturday night.
Yeah, but I think they kind of come back to earth here because Jordan Love averaged 8.5 yards per pass play versus the Bears in Week 14 because Green Bay's flood concepts really stressed those cover 2 defenders sideline to sideline, creating natural holes in the seams. And we know Love loves to throw off of his back foot to receivers in the seams. Chicago's defense is the 3rd highest cover 2 rate in the NFL, and Love is averaging 17% more yards per pass play against cover 2 compared to other coverages.
Well, looking at the Bears offense, they could be without wide receivers Roma Dudze and Luther Burden, and their backup wide receiver Olamide Zaccheaus is averaging less than 1 yard per route run, so not looking great for them there. But shifting over to the Vikings, they play safety Josh Metcalf on season-ending IR, while edge rusher Jonathan Grenard suffered a shoulder injury last week, and then interior defender Javon Hargrave left the game due to a groin injury.
Mm-hmm. And Grenard, 10th in pass rushing efficiency among edge rushers. Hargrave, 16th in pass rushing efficiency among interior defenders. I think both are going to be sidelined this week, and both combined out is worth about a point to Minnesota's defense.
Well, looking at the Lions, backup safeties Eric Hallett and Daniel Thomas surrendered a combined 13.3 yards per target last week in Detroit's first game without Pro Bowl safety Brian Branch and All-Pro safety Kirby Joseph. But the Lions will likely be getting back safety Thomas Harper to play alongside Avonte Maddox for this game.
Yeah, and so, it was really bad for the Lions there when Harper was out with the concussion, but at least Harper is shown to be a competent safety, and Avonte Maddox is also a competent safety, so it's not going to be as bad as last week when they had Hallett and Thomas out there. Now, shifting to the Steelers, the other side of that game, they're probably going to be without TJ Watt again this week. You look at it, okay, Nick Herbig is at a great year. He actually has a higher pressure rate than TJ Watt this year, and Pittsburgh's defense has been 0.05 EPA per play better with Watt off the field this season, which is pretty surprising. If you look back to since 2022, the Steelers defense has been 0.08 EPA per play worse with Watt off the field. Historically, we've talked about this in years past. Watt has been one of the most valuable non-quarterbacks in the NFL. So it is interesting that this year they've been better with him off the field. If you look at since 2022, that would make Watt worth 4+ points. This year, he hasn't been worth anything to the Steelers defense. So I'm trying to kind of split the middle here. Maybe Watt's worth 2 points, but there's a lot of variability in that adjustment. And so I'm not really wanting to bet this game in either direction. Now, I do like the matchup for Cam Hayward in the trenches for the Steelers defense because the Lions are without their starting left guard and their backup left guard. They tried third stringer Tristan Colon out there. He surrendered a 12.5% pressure rate last week, and they ultimately benched him for fourth stringer Miles Frazier in Los Angeles.
Well, I think it's safe to say Jared Goff will be seeing collapsing pockets, and he's already been shaky this year without tight end Sam Laporta. I mean, Detroit's offense is averaging 0.24 EPA per dropback fewer in the 214 dropbacks with Laporta off the field compared to the 271 dropbacks with Laporta on the field. But before we get over to our next segment here, what do you make of this whole Tua benching?
Well, I was a little bit disappointed to see it because I was ready to bet the over in this Bengals-Dolphins game before Mike McDaniel announced the benching because Mike McDaniel's scheme is perfect to attack these Bengals rookie linebackers. But, McDaniel was correct when he was saying that the quarterback play has just not been good enough. Tua leads the NFL with a 5.4% turnover-worthy play rate. Now, the betting market is also correct, moving the Dolphins 14 percentage points in win probability with the downgrade from Tua to backup Quinn Ewers. We've seen Tua, he's not anything to write home about, but he is the best quarterback for this Dolphins offense. Tua averaged 6.5 yards per pass play last year. An NFL caliber backup, Tyler Huntley, averaged 5.0 yards per pass play, and I think we can expect Ewers to be worse than Tyler Huntley.
Well, Ewers does get the dream matchup for his first NFL start against a Bengals defense allowing a league-high 6.4 yards per play, and then that jumps to 6.7 yards per play in the snaps without all-pro edge rusher Trey Hendrickson.
And then on the other side of the ball, it looks like the Bengals are probably going to be without T. Higgins again, and he's averaging 0.22 EPA per target more than backup Andre Yoshivas. I think it's going to be a lot of targets to Jamar Chase in the slot because Miami, nickelback Minka Fitzpatrick, remember they made that trade for him with the Steelers before the season. Minka Fitzpatrick having a pretty good year for the Dolphins defense. He's third in yards per coverage snap allowed in the slot, but with him not on the field, I think the Bengals put Jamar Chase in the slot and he gets 10-plus targets again this week.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good bounce back spot for them. But let's shift over to our next segment here. We've got stock up, stock down. And whose stock are you buying right now?
I'm going to buy the Buccaneers. So, I mean, obviously they blew that game last week, and I think this is the perfect time to buy the Buccaneers. So you look at it, okay, let's look at the Buccaneers on the whole. This season, they're 18th in net EPA per play. Despite Mike Evans missing 10 games, Chris Godwin missing 9 games, Tristan Wirfs missing 4 games, Luke Hideki missing 6 games, Hassan Reddick missing 4 games. I mean, those are 5 of the best players on the team, and all 5 of those guys are going to be on the field this Sunday. I mean, I think it's safe to say the Buccaneers are still an above league average team, given what they've been able to produce with being basically the most injured team in the NFL outside of quarterback this season. Plus, I like the matchup for the Bucs this week. Baker Mayfield leads the NFL, averaging 22% more yards per attempt versus zone compared to man, and the Panthers have the second highest zone rate in the NFL. Then on the other side of the ball, we know Carolina's offense flows through the ground game. They're 7th in rushes per game, but Tampa Bay's defense is one of the best run stop defenses in the NFL, 6th in EPA per rush allowed.
I love that one. That was a crazy game last week against the Falcons, but whose stock are you going to be selling this week?
I think the Chargers kind of have the defense to make me want to sell Dak Prescott stock. I think he's going to struggle on Sunday because the Chargers have the 5th highest standard pass rush rate and the 4th highest too high coverage rate. Both of those Dak Prescott has struggled against this season, 30th relatively against a standard pass rush and 31st relatively against too high coverages compared to single high. Plus, Tuli Tuilopu, 5th in pass rushing efficiency. I think he's going to wreak havoc across from Dallas right tackle Terrence Steele, who surrendered a league high 43 pressures.
All right, let's head over to our next segment here. We got our DraftKings player of the slate. And who are you putting in your lineups on Sunday?
Courtland Sutton at 5,700. So I don't understand why he's listed at 19th in terms of DK pricing here. I mean, he's 13th in DK scoring this season, and Bo Nix has looked better recently. He's 5th in EPA per play over the last 4 games. I think Nix is going to have time in the pocket to hit Courtland Sutton downfield because Josh Hines-Allen, the best player on the Jaguars defense, is going to be completely shut down by Denver left tackle Garrett Bowles, who leads the NFL in pass blocking efficiency.
I love it. My last best ball team is down to Bo Nix as my single quarterback, so we need a big one from him and Courtland there. But let's shift over to our next segment. We've got the weather of the week, and what are you seeing out there?
Well, there's going to be 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts plus rain on Thursday night. Now, by the time you're watching this, you'll know how that affected the game, but that's definitely the biggest weather game of the week. The other one to monitor is in Cleveland with wind upwards of 20 mile per hour sustained. We've got scoring conditions projected to be about 3.5 points worse than average for that Browns game, and the Bills already don't have the wide receiver talent to beat the Browns cover 1, so I expect a lot of running in that game. Meanwhile, Buffalo, second highest too high safety rate, and they're not going to let Shadur Sanders beat them downfield, especially not with this wind. So Sanders is going to be forced into being a consistent down-to-down quarterback, which we haven't seen him be able to do so far. He has a league-low 35.3% success rate.
Yeah, you've been right on when to bet Shadur and then when to fade him, so you've had some good calls there. But let's head over to the night game for our primetime preview. We have the San Francisco 49ers favored over the Indianapolis Colts.
And San Francisco's missed tackle percentage against the run is getting really bad without Fred Warner on the field. 18% during the last 3 weeks, but the Indianapolis ground game is coming off their second worst outing of the year, averaging only 3.2 yards per carry against the Seahawks. And the reason they're suffering is because Phillip Rivers will not go under center. And the Colts lead the NFL, averaging 6.5 yards per play under center.
Yeah, and Rivers had a 4.7 yard average depth of target in his first start this year. And for reference, the league low for air yards per attempt is Aaron Rodgers at 5.6.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate Rivers throwing the ball downfield more often on Monday night, likely without both starting tackles. Bernard Raymond and Braden Smith are worth 1.5 points according to our metrics.
Yeah, and the Colts defense is conceding negative 0.13 EPA per rush, which is fourth in the NFL, and negative 0.25 EPA per target to opposing running backs, which is second in the NFL. So they should be able to limit Christian McCaffrey here.
They should. I think Brock Purdy's going to be able to throw downfield. He's third in EPA per play this season, and he's going against, when you look downfield, a very banged up Colts defense. Colts backup cornerbacks Mekhi Blackman and Jonathan Edwards are combining to allow 0.3 more yards per cover slap than Sauce Gardner and Charvarius Ward. And then you look at it, Purdy's not going to be facing pressure up the middle because the Colts have been without DeForest Buckner. Indianapolis is allowing 0.05 EPA per dropback more with DeForest Buckner off the field this year. So I'm looking side and total. I kind of lean Indy. I kind of lean over, but that was just Mickey Mouse offense that they were running with Phillip Rivers last week. And I'm, want to give them a little bit of a pass because at Seattle is one of the hardest places to play offense. But I don't know. I'm having a hard time, betting the Colts or betting over here just because of what I saw from Rivers last week.
All right, well, you got some action here. Let's do our primetime prop. And you are 33-25 on podcast props dating back to 2023. But where do you want to go with this one?
The way I'm going to play the Colts offense is by playing Josh Downs over 24.5 receiving yards. So Downs ran 25 routes last week in Rivers' first start, the second most he's had in a game all season due to the stylistic changes we talked about on the offense. Downs had 4 targets against Seattle, and I think that goes up this week because San Francisco nickelback Upton Stout is surrendering the second most yards per cover snap in the slot.
I love it. Well, that will do it for our Week 16 preview. If you're looking for more content, make sure to head over to drbobsports.com where you'll find Tanner's NFL analysis as well as Bob's college football write-ups, especially for those bowl games. And then we also have our college basketball service with plays releasing every single day until the end of March. So we'll see you guys back next Friday to preview Week 17.